Hello, I'm Austin S., and today we will be reading Smoky by Peet. This is a book I always loved to read when I was your age. I hope you like it just as much as me. Old Smoky for many long years had worked hard switching the freight cars around in the yard. He wheezed, he huffed, he puffed, he chugged. No matter how tired he pulled, he tugged. Backward and forward, forward and back, and all of the time on the very same track, lining up freight cars for day after day so the big diesel engines could haul them away. When he'd switched the last car, his work was all through. With no place to go, with nothing to do, he would sit on the loneliest part of the track, blowing smoke rings like daydreams from out of his stack. He would watch them go drifting away through the air and wish that he too might go somewhere. The big diesels stopped in the yard now and then and bragged about all the places they'd been, while Smokey would listen to all the details of their fabulous trips on the silvery rails. He imagined himself at the head of a train, speeding along over mountain and plain, tearing through the tunnels as black as the night, then out over trestles of dizzying height. He traveled along through his wonderful dream till it faded through sight like a big puff of steam. Then he sighed in despair. There was no place to go, with a rumble long line of freight cars in tow. One morning, poor Smokey just happened to hear some news that surprised him and filled him with fear. "Did you know?" a big sleeper car said with a yawn. "Old Smokey's all through. Next week he'll be gone. They finally got sick of his dirty black smoke, and not only that, he's an awful slow poke." "I think that's a shame," said a nice old caboose. "It's the junkyard for him if he has no more use." Smokey knew of the place, for he'd passed there one day and seen the old engines all rusting away. Mighty Mo, Big Louie, Old 99, and the big Hercules of the North Central line. They had simply worn out, had nothing to do. Their travels were over, and now they were through. "Well, there's one thing," said Smokey, "that I'm gonna do. I'm taking a trip, and I'm going in a good long one, too." So he crept behind boxcars along a side track until he sneaked up by the train watchman's shack. The watchman was reading a new comic book and didn't give Smokey so much as a look. He huffed and he puffed and he went steaming by on out of the freight yard as easy as pie. "I'm free," said old Smokey. "There's no need to hurry. When I puff clouds of smoke, now I don't have to worry." But nearby on a hilltop, strangely enough, someone was watching and counting each puff. "What's it say?" "What's the word, Chief?" said Little Wolf Ears. "We haven't received a smoke signal for years." "It's the worst sort of insult," said the Chief, Crazy Hawk. "And we're not going to stand for that kind of smoke talk." So they went off in their humpmobile, whooping and yelling with their chief at the wheel. They raced down the road along the track with their spears. Then with spears and with arrows they launched their attack. Smokey turned on the steam and picked up the pace, and away they all went in a wild screaming chase. But Smokey, alas, was in no shape to run. In less than a mile he was nearly all done. The braves were all set to close in for the kill when they screamed to a stop at the top of a hill, for a wagon was there with a big load of hay, and Smokey went puffing on safely away. By now he was just about dead in his tracks. He was stopping in a woods to cool off and relax. He gave his poor run-down old wheels a good rest before continuing with his journey out west. Soon after sundown he heard an owl hoot, or could it perhaps be a train whistle hoot? Then through the woods shot a long flash of light. A fast freight train came roaring down out of the night. Smokey took off just as fast as he could, racing at top speed away through the wood. He wasn't so worried about his own neck. He was much more afraid that he'd cause a train wreck. So he jumped off the track. He plunged over a bank with bumpity clunkety clankety clank. Wheels over the cab with a crush and a crash, then finally with a great big kerploppity splash. Early next day, about 8:45, a furious farmer came called the North Central line. I've put up with your noisy trains year after year, but hootin' and tootin' and roarin' past here. But you'll not make my duck pond a junky old dump for broken down engines, complained the old grump. So get the thing out of here pretty quick too, or I'll call up the sheriff. That's just what I'll do. So the North Central line sent a big railroad crane and hauled out the muddy, soggy old train. And then came a diesel to push Smoky back, and they left him to sit at the end of the track. Now he was done, no doubt about that. His smoked out was crushed like a battered old hat. He was so out of shape that he couldn't blow rings, but strangely enough he could blow other things. Big figure 8s and 6s and 2s, capital letters, and big curly Q's. His letters, which just about filled the whole sky, were seen by a teacher, Miss Adelaide Fry. She was on her way back from a summer vacation and had just left her train at the North Central station. "Amazing," she cried. "Why, that's stupendous. It's super colossal. It's also tremendous. That little old engine's the best I've seen yet for teaching my pupils the whole alphabet." So she went to the school board, and they soon agreed that Mrs. Fry's new idea was a good one indeed, and the railroad, it turned out, was happy to settle for what the old engine was worth in scrap metal. At the school, they put Smoky outside in the yard, where the children got busy, worked extra hard. They scraped off the rust, pounded out every dent, except for his smokestack that was left bent. Then they painted him to look better than new, bright red, deep yellow, and robin's egg blue. Smoky learned on the letters, and not only that, he'd spell simple words such as mother and cat. Oh, he sometimes forgets to cross all of his T's, and a few of the letters get lost in the breeze. But the children are learning much faster and better, as they watch with delight even every big Smoky letter. They come to the school bright early every day. When classes are over, they all want to say, "This new teaching system the children love so, it's called choo-choo training, and now wouldn't you know."